Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. James Sharmack here. So, we're looking at a couple of Godzilla figures today. I've been requested once or twice to maybe see if I can find the GodziBurst figures. So, today I got a couple in from Big Bad Toy Store. We're looking at Kiryu today, and we're looking at Godzilla 91. So, we'll take a quick tour around at least one of the boxes, and then we'll open them both one by one. So outside of GodziBurst and Bandai Namco, it looks like these are just made for the Japanese audience. Obviously, you can get them online because that's how the world works now. So I bought both of these figures about $12-13 each. But I don't read Japanese, so do what you can. Or if you can read them, let me know. I don't know. But anyways, simple card back, a lot of stuff on the back because I don't read Japanese, so I don't know what's going on. So anyways, let's open Godzilla first and take a look at him. So we have Godzilla 91 out of the package, looking very cool. Small figure, so I don't expect too much detail, but it still has a pretty decent amount of detail for a figure that size. We'll look at the size later on compared to other figures, but got some nice detail. No paint on the toenails, but he's got paint on the claws, paint on the teeth. Somewhat decent, detail on the head and the eyes and the head sculpt. Dorsal fins, you can do what you can with this size, so it still looks pretty solid. Sort of kind of reminds me of the reaction figures, those, but that's a little bit taller just because of the, standing. Not so much the articulation, which we'll talk about later on, but still, pretty cool. Nice details, I said. Looks like it has some articulation, so let's take a look at that really quick. His head can turn. It's got rotation at the torso. His arms go up and down. Legs go forward and back. And he's got, looks like just one pointed articulation at the tail. So I thought these were similar to another line of figures that they put out earlier, like a couple years ago. We'll talk about that in a second. But, pretty solid figure for that size and articulation-wise and whatnot. Let's take a look at Kiryu. Obviously the third iteration of Mechagodzilla. Pretty solid looking figure. Nice silver apps. Probably a little, looks like the silver is a little bit better than the larger figure I bought from Bandai Namco. Pretty solid detail, obviously. Sculpt, the dorsal fins look pretty cool. Head sculpt's pretty awesome. If you screw up Kiryu, because there's a lot of detail. I think Kiryu design is probably the best Mechagodzilla figure or design. So if you mess up the head, then you mess up the figure. Anyways, got some nice black going on right there. As I said, the eyes, I didn't say the eyes, but the eyes definitely have the yellow, so that's pretty cool. Got, some black accents throughout. And he's got the same articulation as the Godzilla. Head turns around. And actually, the head can go up and down too, so that's pretty cool. I didn't really get into the chest articulation, but he can move back, go forward, so that's pretty cool all around. Arms can move a little bit. They go up and down. Legs can, go apart a little bit, I guess. I kind of noticed that, and he does the same thing on Godzilla. But you can go forward and back as well as, a little bit apart. And tail articulation. So, for a figure that size, both of them have pretty solid articulation, so that's pretty cool. So, size-wise, they're pretty much along the same size as the boxed Bandai figures from a bunch of years ago, except these are vinyl and the new ones are plastic, and they have more articulation, though these are a little bit better with detail and sculpt, but it is what it is. Still, this is pretty cool. And to compare size-wise for something in brand, I grabbed the Kiryu Godzilla action figure, also made by Bandai Namco. I just want to say Namco Bandai, but whatever. Anyways, obviously, definitely a size difference. I do dig, the detail they put into the small one and the articulation. But, which one do I prefer? Of course, the action figure set. Obviously he's got a lot more going on. But still, I really respect what they're doing with this. And I just want to put them head to head, see how they look against each other. Pretty solid looking, right? In case you want to, take them for a fight or whatever. I'm sure you could probably see if you can use one of the flame effects from, say, a PlayStation figure and see if that, fits in the mix. But, probably since its mouth is so small, it just looked ridiculous. I would have liked to see if they could, try a flame effect or something. That would have been nice, but you probably can't because it's obviously that small. So, anyway, still pretty solid figure to, at least do like a little fight with. I know these are more geared for kids, obviously, so, it's pretty cool to fight with, I guess. So, pretty solid figures for their size. Pretty nice price point for their size, for imports or whatever. I said I got these from Big Bad Toy Store, so I have a bunch of these. I'll probably see about getting a couple more. Obviously, I think I brought up in a video, I have a Burning Godzilla coming, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. So, these are pretty solid. Hope you guys like this video. As I said, articulation is pretty solid for figures that size. Detail, pretty good for, I don't really have anything to complain about. Just, I would have liked to see a couple of accessories. That would have been awesome. Like flame effects or whatever. Kiryu probably should have had his, armor, his, gun coming. That would have been cool, but it is what it is. So, yeah. Dig these figures. If you guys can find them on Big Bad Toy Store, go get yourself a couple of figures. You're probably going to be happy about it. So anyways, that's it for this video. More Godzilla figures coming. I have at least one Playmates here I got to get done. I got a couple more coming in the nearest future, so we'll see how that goes. I'll probably see about getting a couple more Hi-Ya Godzillas. I want to see how they look. I'm thinking about getting the 2001, even though, it'd be more a comparison probably between the NECA figure to see how that goes. Because I just think they're the same scale, but it is what it is. Anyways, if you do like this stuff, like, subscribe, whatever. Let me know, have you been looking for this line of figures? Do you buy this line of figures? Is this something you'd consider? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, my name is James Sharmack. This has been a Nerd Room with J&J, and as always, keep on collecting and happy hunting.